Hello and welcome everyone to Tattoo It on Your Heart. This is Rachel M. Colby and I am thrilled to introduce you today to Pastor Ron and Kathie Banet, missionaries serving in South Africa. They pastor the church in El Dorado Park, a suburb of Johannesburg. Welcome, Pastor Banet and Kathie. I'm so happy to have you, and happy Pastor Appreciation Month.
Yes, it is good to be here. We're glad that we're appreciated. Yay!
Thank you for having us.
Oh, some of my favorites. Okay, I'd like to start off with asking if you guys would share your stories, share a bit of your testimonies, where you're from, how many children you have, how you got saved.
Okay, I got saved. I was, 18 years old. And I remember from age 14, 15, and 16, smoking dope, carrying on. But every night, no matter how drunk or high I was, I read 2 chapters out of the Old Testament, 1 chapter out of the New, read the Bible through almost twice, being a sinner. But on the back of an old fishing boat that my dad had in the Gulf of Mexico, just got weary of life, weary of how I was living, called out to God, and had a glorious conversion experience on the back of that boat. I remember taking the weed and all the drugs, all the alcohol, tossed them over the side of the ship, never went back. I was age 18 years old. Now I'm 58. Jesus is still, he's still alive.
Why were you reading the Bible as an unsaved person?
Well, because I was looking for answers, man. I went to churches all the time on Sundays, probably as a sinner once or twice a month on a Sunday a.m. I attend the local churches, but I'd go in, I'd sit. There was no altar calls. Nobody ever really talked to me, and so I kind of went in, went out, but I was always searching for answers. I knew there had to be more than life than just doing what I was doing. And so I figured, hey, the answer had to be in the Word of God. So I said, all right, Ron, 2 chapters out of the Old, 1 chapter out of the New, as a complete sinner, twice through the Bible.
Okay, so you've just convicted probably 90% of the Christian population because you read more of the Bible before you were a Christian than most Christians, unfortunately, probably do.
Yes, yeah. I tell my church all the time, I said, look, your pastor's read through the Bible 2 times even before you got saved. I read through it many a times now.
Wow.
Reading
Okay.
through the Bible all the time. So
right out of the gate, we're all convicted and you're challenging us. Thank you.
Okay. Well.
Okay. From Marine to missionary. Well, actually, Kathie, we haven't heard your testimony.
Okay, I guess I could be qualified as growing up. I was an overachiever, trained in the arts, top in math and science, but I loved music, the violin, the drums, classically trained violinist. And then towards high school, I was bullied very bad, sent to a bad school. So when some friends introduced us to dope, that was a whole lot more fun than practicing our scales. And one thing led to another. I always worked and had a job, but on the inside, there was always that something missing that could help me with emotional stability. So at 19 years old, a girl told me she had been praying for us, my sister and I, and we went out to visit her in Arizona, and I received Jesus. I was 19. I'm now 58 as well, and I have been a Christian ever since. And so I guess that's, my mother called me up a few months ago. She said, how are you doing with all this COVID? And I said, I'm doing great, Mom, because Jesus is real. And so I guess that is probably, besides the promise of heaven that I have from the Bible, I guess the emotional stability that I have seen in my life, in the lives of my family, since I've received Jesus, I think probably that's the best benefit I've seen.
And how many children can you tell our audience how many children?
We have 2 girls. Our oldest daughter, Adrian, is a missionary in Madagascar. And our youngest daughter is a nurse practitioner in North Carolina looking after geriatric heart patients.
And how long have you guys been married now?
48 years. No.
37?
37,
38?
37, I think.
What year is it?
It is 2020.
37 years.
About 37, 38, 37.
Awesome. Okay, so Pastor Banet, from Marine to missionary, you're a veteran, so thank you for your service. Veterans Day is just around the corner. Has your military background influenced your Christian walk and how you pastor?
Well, yeah. I mean, a warrior for the United States, warrior for God, always fighting for something. So it was a very, Marines is actually a very great place. Trains you about discipline, trains you about not listening to the feelings. It's you got a job to do, regardless, you do it. Amen. For a cause that is greater than you. So the transition from Marine, of course, got saved right when I went into. Got saved, and 2 months later, I was in boot camp. So that whole world was it was a very easy transition because in the Marines it was a harvest field of souls. Our churches that I went to was completely filled with young Marines, married couples hurting inside. They joined the Marines looking to escape the law, escape problems, only find that the Marines didn't help them with their individual heart problems. Only God can do that, but it was a harvest field. But for me, serving in the Marine Corps was great. I wouldn't have been called the pastor. I would have been 20 or 30 years in the Marine Corps. I just loved the Marines, but God called me to pastor, to pioneer some churches. So after 5 years, I got out. But it was a great training ground for the future.
Thank you. When you became Christians, did you envision yourself pastoring? And did you envision yourself as missionaries to Africa?
No, I mean, when I got saved, and within 3 to 6 months, I knew I was called to preach, So, and within the first year of me being saved, I read every book about every African missionary, C.T. Studd, everyone, David Livingston, read every one of them. I remember my pastor said, "Where you want to go?" I said, "Africa." And he said, "No, Africa, you ain't got no pastoral experience. You need a pastor somewhere here in America and get some pastoral experience." But I knew always had a heart for it. And then I remember my first church. I was pastoring there in Escondido, California. I was pioneering there, working as a copier tech, just supporting the needs of the family. And then, I remember going and visiting some people from South Africa that had left South Africa and wound up in San Diego, opening up businesses. And they used to, I remember one time I'm working on a copier, the guy said, "Hey, look, I got to show you some pictures of my homeland." And of course, the guy opened a book, a photo album, started showing me pictures, which was of Johannesburg, the city of Johannesburg and the suburbs. And I felt the Lord spoke to me right there. He says, "One day you will end up there." And of course, I tried for many years through my pastor, through Pastor Mitchell, just to fulfill that, but never could. And I said, "God, I tried. If you want me to go to South Africa," I felt like you spoke to me. But I was a young pastor there and just pastoring. I was 22 years old at the time. Had a wife, had one kid at that time, another one on the way. But I said that you'll have to open the door. And it was probably 18 years later when I was pastoring in the Bronx that actually I got the phone call to actually go to Johannesburg. And I've been here ever since, which is probably 18 years now, 19 years.
What about the Cape? Wasn't that your favorite?
Yeah, no, Cape was great.
We absolutely loved the Cape.
Oh, Cape was great.
We felt it was a great privilege for us to be on Cape. And I suppose if my husband hadn't felt called to preach, we would have had no problem spending the rest of our lives on Cape Cod. We love the people. We love the saltiness of the people. We love the beaches. We love the culture, everything about Cape Cod.
It was cool. It was very cool. And Campbell, great pastor. I learned so much in the 4 years that I spent there with him and his wife, Linda. It was just it was a life-changing event from going from New Jersey, pioneering for 4 or 5 years, and then coming up and seeing a church actually that had flaming revival youth, and God was just moving powerfully. I learned so much, and who would have known? I never would have guessed that years later I would take over a conference center. And of course, some of my reference points for what I do now was actually the foundation was laid and watching Pastor Campbell and his wife handle, navigate conferences, problems, difficulties. And it was a great, great blessing. And I could have stayed for a long, long time if I wouldn't have been called to preach.
Well, you mentioned that you're a conference center in Africa. So how many churches are you currently overseeing? Like how much, like what area do you serve?
Okay, Southern Africa. Okay, in South Africa, I think we have about 110, 15 churches that are here. And we have a couple churches in Madagascar, a couple in Botswana, a couple in Lesotho and Swaziland, and then we have 2 in Malawi. And so those
And
are
Mozambique.
and Mozambique. We got 2 over there in Mozambique, but those are primarily the great congestion of them are in South Africa, but we have probably 10 or 12 missionaries that are outside that are not in South Africa that we're responsible for.
Okay. And how many of those are churches that you planted?
I think we all the international we planted that are outside the borders, and I think our church, El Dorado, is responsible for 30, 40 at this particular point. I don't
49
know.
churches
49.
we've either planted or we have partnered with to get the couples there and get them set up.
So that's
quite a few
in South Africa and
Because-
outside.
Yeah, we have 12 mission works outside the border, about 100 churches inside South Africa. So what we would do is what we learned from our pastor in Prescott, Arizona, is that we just not only invest in our couples, we invest in other people's couples to help get them. Sometimes the church has money to support the person, but not to get them there. And then we will help do that.
Okay. All right. So you've also helped many with job skills, training them in trades so your church members can provide for themselves and their families. And can you tell us what inspired you to do this, how you go about it, what kind of training and opportunities have you helped your parishioners and community with? And if we have time, we'll have
I think at this, in South Africa coming to morning prayer, and you got 40, 50 people that are in morning prayer, and of course, which is great. But I said, man, ain't you guys got jobs? And of course, when I came in, they said, oh, Pastor, we've graduated from high school. Some of them got associate degrees, but they said we've got no practical skills. So that just prompted me to quickly go hunt down some copier dealerships. And I just put together a little 3-month program and begin to just teach them. And at this point, we've got probably about 800 men, about 50 women that have actually gone through the program. The great majority of those, probably 80%, are pastors' wives that are out pastoring in different places, here or there, or would-be disciples and workers that are in churches. And so it's a very, very good, very, very good thing. But that's what just seeing the need, and I had a skill that I could teach them. So, and copiers is still very big all over the world, especially in South Africa. And Joburg is one of the wealthiest cities, and businesses everywhere. So there's machines and everywhere here that need to be fixed. So it ended up being a very good tool just to help people here in South Africa.
And Kathie, I know you've come up with some creative ideas too to help people.
Just during lockdown, we trained a girl who was a sudden widow. She is nail tech. We got her certified through a course in the UK, and this is 10 days of my gelish Most of my
Yay.
friends on WhatsApp, they will see that. And so she's almost ready to be placed. But with the girls, it's more difficult because they have a system called Labola, which is a bride price. And so rather than work at jobs, they will settle for the bride price money and they will cash in everything for that. So we actually try and train the girls to go out. I guess you might call it women's lib, but it's just liberation. Go out and make your own money and then marry for love. And then you can have a skill. If you get married, you can work out of your house. If you want to be a pastor's wife, you always have a little way to make some money. So, but we have started a graphics program. We called that Graphics on Fire. And it was sponsored by a famous computer company for a while, and now we're just taking girls, we're placing them in another girl, we just placed her, she's been working there about a year now in a printing company.
That is amazing. Well, one of the things, like the physical needs of people can become consuming, overwhelming. And a lot of organizations, well-meaning organizations, have gotten caught up meeting the physical needs, so much so it overshadows the mandate to preach the gospel and make disciples, plant churches. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? But the Bible does say to take care of physical needs of people too. So how have you managed to balance meeting the physical needs of the people while holding to the priority of winning people to Jesus and planting churches?
Well, when it comes to that, we've had our share of majority, 85, 90% have kept the faith and kept going. Of course, it's human will. We don't force anybody. We help anybody. Our hope is that they stay saved, they stay in church. About 10% haven't. They've gone their own way, and just, which is fine. We've done what we could do for them. They take the job, took the money, got the house, got the car, and Jesus is now on the side of the road. They're no longer serving him, but the great majority, 85, 90% they have kept the faith because they stay in church, and they realize that there's just life is not just about getting money, because money is something that is won't bring you everything you're looking for. It might pay the rent and have a hamburger you can put in your mouth, but it ain't going to give you everything you're looking for. So most of them have come to that truth, and they realize that while they owe what their life and their livelihood to Jesus, and they know it's not the job that changed their life, but it was a relationship with God. When you get people that are truly converted, that's the conversion experience will carry people through every kind of trial and tribulation many times. Amen. But we have a very good success rate with people just staying on fire, staying in God, but now they got jobs and get married and have kids and go on and do the will of God.
So Rachel, it's the old adage, first of all, we don't feel sorry for people. That won't help people, feeling sorry for them. You have compassion for them, but it's the old adage, if you teach a person to fish, they can catch fish the rest of their life. If you give them a fish, they'll be hungry tomorrow. So we really try and teach people to fish. But, if people will serve Jesus, then that is the equal sign to their equation. You can invest money or invest jobs in people, food to people, but unless they have that equal sign in their life, the sum won't add up.
That is amazing. That you've managed to do both, because some do one or the other, but you've managed to do both and to do it amazingly well. Thank you for your example.